This is the second part of Chapter 4. How do geological processes and climate change affect evolution? So the main concept is tectonic plate movements, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and climate changes have shifted wildlife habitats, wiped out large numbers of species, and created opportunities for the evolution of new species. Pangaea is a name given to a supercontinent which is supposed to have existed 200 to 250 million years ago. See next slide. And it was a connected piece of all of the Earth's present-day continents. Tectonic plates are a series of gigantic solid pieces of the Earth's surface above their huge flows of molten rock within the Earth's interior. Tectonic plates affect evolution and the location of life on Earth. So locations of continents and oceans have shifted through geological time. Species physically move or adapt or form new species through natural selection. Earthquakes can separate and isolate populations. Volcanic eruptions destroy habitats. This is a picture to show the Pangaea over 200 million years ago, and the present time, how Pangaea splits into different tectonic plates. Climate changes and catastrophes affect natural selection too. So ice ages followed by warming temperatures, collisions between the Earth and large asteroids, they give a chance to destroy some other species and also give a chance for new species to be formed. These are the picture of changes in ice coverage in the northern hemisphere during the last 18,000 years. So some part was covered, some part was warmed up. So section 4, how do speciation, extinction, and human activities affect biodiversity? The first concept is as environmental conditions change, the balance between formation of new species and extinction of existing species determines the Earth's biodiversity. So I say this one again. So today the Earth's biodiversity is determined by two factors. One is the new species being formed, and then the second one is the species go extinct. So only between the balance of these two, although many other factors impact how species is formed and then how species extinct. But the balance between these two decide how many biodiversity of species on Earth today. The second concept is human activities can decrease biodiversity. How is by causing the extinction of many species, by destroying or degrading habitats needed for the development of new species. So how do new species evolve? Thinking about it. So this one is called speciation. So one species splits into two or more species. And then this one involves geographic isolation. So those will be the first step. If they always live together and then they mate, mix their genetic pools, so no new species will be formed. So the first step is geological isolation. by the plate tectonic movement, earthquake, etc. So the physical isolation of populations for a long period of time, that's give them time to develop their own traits, mutations. And then eventually the geological isolation lead to reproductive isolation. So mutations and natural selection in geographically isolated populations eventually lead to inability to produce viable offspring when members of two different populations mate. So when two populations mate, cannot produce viable or fertile offsprings. We say these two populations belong to two different species. So this one is an example, describe early fox population, how they spread into cold area and then warmer area. So eventually they are not the same species anymore. So what is extinction? Simply the species ceased to existence. Okay, but it depends on how the area they ceased to exist. We have different names. Okay, so extinction is a process in which an entire species ceases to exist. So the entire species, no anywhere, they're gone. You call them biological extinction. Or you can see a population of a species become extinct only over an area. Something disappear in America, let's say that. However, at the same location, same geological similar condition, you can find them in Europe. And then those kind of species, you call them local extinction. Another term you needed to know is called endemic species. Endemic species. Those species, they are only found in one area. It's not say they live in everywhere and they extincted. They only exist in one location. And then those endemic species, they are vulnerable because they are just easily be extincted. If this area, something not right for them, they're gone. And then when we're looking at extinction, so even without any huge catastrophe or human activity, species just die out and then they produce new one. So the typical background extinction, this one is very low. It's 1 in 1 million. So every year, if you have 3 million species, probably 3 species die out. So this is just yearly their normal background extinction. And then when we say mass extinction, like at the Ice Age, that means this rate, 1 over 1 million, get a significantly increase. Way higher than the background. We call that mass extinction. Okay. So mass extinction happened on Earth in the long Earth history. However, most worrying thing is we don't want human cause another mass extinction. So this one is example is called golden toad of Costa Rica. This one is biologically extincted. There's nowhere you can find it. Pretty sad. And then a little science focus 4.2. So we're talking about a selection, natural selection we're talking about. Now we're looking at artificial selection. So artificial selection enables a change in the genetic characteristics of populations by selecting one or more desirable genetic traits in the population of a plant or animal. So we call this one selective breeding, such as we breed different kind of dogs. It's used to generate populations of the species containing large numbers of individuals with the desirable traits, like a poodle. Many people like a poodle for dogs, right? And then another one is GMO, genetically modified food, like that. So genetically genetic engineering is the alteration of an organism's genetic material through adding, deleting, or changing segments, a part of its DNA, to produce desirable traits or eliminate undesirable traits. So those one would allow you to, for example, you can put some tomatoes gene, put it onto another crop, or insect, something you put onto a plant. So totally not related individuals, species, population, by genetic engineering, you can put them together. So this is a GMO example. Section 5, what is species diversity and why is it important? This section you need to pay attention to, okay? So species diversity is a major component of biodiversity and it tends to increase the sustainability of the whole ecosystem. So species diversity is only one layer of the 4 aspects of biological diversity. Remember, we mentioned at the beginning, okay? So species diversity means the number and variety of species in a given area. So species riches is the number of different species in a given area. If one area has 5 species, the other place has 10, then you say the places with 10 species has a higher richness, okay? And then species evenness is a comparative numbers of individuals of each species. So if you have 2 species, one has 1 individual, the other one has 100 individual. This one is not even. But if you have 2 species, 150, the other one 49, so they are pretty much even. So species diversity includes variety and abundance. So the most species-rich community, so they have more species, and then they have the species evenness. So those are you found in tropical rainforests, coral reefs, ocean bottom zone, and large tropical lakes with warmer water. So those are the pictures. One you can see is mono species, the other one is more diversity. And then, so far, based on observation, we realize species richness increase productivity and stability and sustainability of an ecosystem. So which means if there is a catastrophe, the ecosystem with the higher species richness will survive better or recover better than the ecosystem with low species richness. Okay. However, we don't know exactly what is the in number, how many number of species you needed to become sustainable. Anyway, the more the better. So section 6, we be able to go a little bit. Okay. Section 6 is what roles does species play in an ecosystem. There are 2 concepts. One is each species plays a specific ecological role. We call this one is niche. The second one is any given species may play one or more of the 4 important roles. Summarize, okay? So the species can be native species, or they can be non-native, or they can be an indicator, or they can be keystone species in a particular ecosystem. We're going to look at this one more closely. So this concept is important. You will see on your quiz. What is ecological niche? A species ecological niche is its pattern of living, including everything that affects his survival and reproduction. So this definition you needed to know. So I'm going to repeat this one for next video. So this is the second one. Thank you for watching.